What's up, guys? We're back with another video, and this is called People Who Found Millions of Dollars in Storage Units. Stealing, by the way. But let's see what we got here.
Find $20 in the pocket of an old jacket. Felt pretty good to find some money unexpectedly, huh?
That happens to me a lot.
Well, what if you...
Don't even lie, that happens to you too. We're lucky you find number $20. Why always $20 though?
You found not $20, but $7.5 million unexpectedly. Okay, so it's highly unlikely you're going to find that kind of money in a jacket. But it can be found in an old storage unit. And believe it or not, stories like this are true and are more common than you think. We've got unbelievable tales of folks buying abandoned storage units, blowing off the dust, and walking away with huge chunks of change. Here's the most lucrative, unexpected finds ever. And after today's video, we bet you'll want to buy an old storage unit of your own.
Not really.
To kick things off, we want to talk about the most expensive find in a storage unit, which also happens to double as the most valuable find by someone who works on the smash hit TV show Storage Wars. If you're not familiar with the show, this reality television series premiered on A&E, ran for 12 seasons, and has just been renewed for a 13th season. The premise? Well, due to a Californian law that says if rent is not paid on a storage unit after 3 months, said unit can be sold.
I actually heard of Storage Wars, to be honest, but I didn't know it went out for that long.
Off in
And they're just renewing a 13th season. Okay.
a cash-only auction. Enter the stars of the show, who are professional buyers, and after a quick look around, they decide if they want to purchase the abandoned lockers. But in arguably the most infamous auction of his career, star Dan Dotson made history after someone he sold a locker to found $7.5 million in cash in the old storage unit. Oh, you heard that right. But get this, Dotson only sold the unit for $500. Talk about a good investment on the part of the buyer. See, the $7.5 million was...
Should have done so much more than 500, but yeah, you know what? Okay, that's good, but 500.
Actually in a safe.
Because you said 7.5 million, so I think you'll be fine if you spend a little more than more than $200,000.
There was no way anyone could have known that kind of money was in there. Apparently, getting the safe open proved to be quite the challenge. To quote Dotson in a video that he posted to Facebook and YouTube, "The first person they called to open the safe, I guess, couldn't or didn't. So they called a second person. When that person opened it up, inside the safe, normally they're empty, but this time it wasn't empty, and it had $7.5 million in cash inside the safe." Now, shortly after the news
Bro, you should pay that guy for getting that thing open if the first guy couldn't get it.
broke, a lawyer who represented the original owners of the safe contacted the buyers, and they agreed that in return for the $7.5 million, they would get $1.2 million. Gotta say, still ain't a bad takeaway from a $500 purchase. Next up, we've got a storage unit find that will delight gamers young and old out there. Check this out. Tucked away in this dusty old locker was a huge collection of classic video games. It was truly a gamer's paradise. All kinds of rare and vintage video games, consoles, and add-ons had been sitting there unbeknownst to anyone. A Super Nintendo Game Genie.
But honestly, if people wanted to, did they even sell the game consoles for those though?
Codebook, a Coleco Pong-style dedicated machine, and even a Sega Master System game and Sega Saturn disc were just a few of the finds in this storage unit. And you can bet these collectibles were worth quite a pretty penny. This was another incredible discovery found on the 10th season of the show Storage Wars. And it was one of the stars of the show, Ren, who unearthed the lucky find. For only $1,500, Ren found that there was an estimated $45,000 to $50,000 worth of games and collectibles in the locker. Most of the collection was old cartridges, so Ren was warned that it would take a long time to sell everything to actually get that $50,000. But with enough patience and enough nerdy collectors, Ren was assured they could get that $50K. Here's a find that is sure to delight sports fans, especially if you're a fan of the Chicago Bulls 1990s dynasty, which included none other than Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, and Michael Jordan. Here's the story. A man in North Carolina bought what he thought was your average run-of-the-mill storage locker until he started to do a little digging inside. He quickly realized that he may have stumbled across a rare piece of Chicago Bulls history, and it may be worth some serious change. The locker contained 2 of Michael Jordan's recruitment letters, one from assistant Bill Guthridge and another from coach.
Even though it might be a piece of paper, but that's actually worth a lot, to be honest, especially if it's an NBA player.
Dean Smith.
Or sports people, period. You know what I mean.
Just how did these incredibly rare documents find their way into an old storage locker? Apparently they were given by Jordan himself to Michael Jordan's 23, a restaurant that opened in 1999 in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. When they were auctioned off, they went for $50,000. Hey, what can we say? People love Michael Jordan. In fact, just 1 month prior to selling these documents, another auction house, Gray Flannel Auctions, sold a pair of shoes that Jordan used during his infamous flu game, where Michael Jordan scored an astonishing 38 points in a game where he was sick with the flu, and they went for $104,765. If you've got any Jordan memorabilia, we say hold on to it. It may just make you rich one day. Our next expensive storage unit find is one that is sure to bring out your inner scallywag and plunderer. It was in 2011 that none other than Dan Dotson from Storage Wars noticed a chest inside an old locker, and he quickly offered $1,000 on the spot for it. Since the couple who owned it couldn't pry it open, they agreed. We've got to say, when it was discovered what was inside, whoo boy, did they make a mistake in
Child.
selling it. To even move the chest out of the unit, it took 3 people, and inside was $500,000 in gold doubloons. Experts say that the chest was around 200.
Do you know actually doubloons, how old is doubloons? So surely they must have been way more than that.
Years old, and that this treasure could truly be. Experts say that the chest was around 200 years old, and that this treasure could truly be described as the pieces of 8 Spanish gold, which dates it anywhere between the 16th and 19th centuries. All we have to say about this find is arg, matey. While our next story may not be.
Surely that 200 years ago. I want to know when this happened. But still, 200 years ago is a while. It only got $500,000 for it. Honestly, it's a lot, but it's a lot of money, but still, doubloons are
A traditional storage unit per se, it certainly was a storage facility of sorts. When you find out what was inside, though, we're sure you'll agree it deserves a spot on our list. 21-year-old car collector Vince Hernandez came across an old abandoned barn that was being used to store all manner of odds and ends, sheet metals, and vintage supercars. Oh, you heard that right. After dusting off all the cobwebs, after all the barn hadn't seen the light of day since the 1980s, Hernandez found several Lamborghini Countaches, a Porsche 911 Speedster with only 41 miles on the odometer, and a Ford Shelby GT500. But it didn't stop there. A Ferrari 400 automatic, a Buick GSX, a Cadillac Series 62, and a 1969 Hemi Charger were all collecting dust as well. The total valuation of the vintage supercars? $2 million. Made
about to say, that wasn't over $1 million. I'm done with them. They are scammed. They getting scammed.
this be a lesson to anyone out there who buys some property with an old barn in it. Be sure to check what's inside.
An old barn with all these cars, with all these vintage supercars. It's not a setup, but it feels like one.
For our last storage unit find, we've got something truly special to show you. In this story, a Florida radio station spent $300 for a storage locker in an auction. Inside was a rare piece of history that just so happened to be worth millions. Inside were handwritten lyrics, photos, and old contracts that belonged to none other than the Beach Boys. It was an incredible find, and when the Beach Boys found out that their old memorabilia had been found, they wanted it back. But they didn't get it.
Oh, so they're still alive? They wanted.
The items were sold in an auction for an incredible $7.8 million. Looks like someone was feeling the warmth of the sun that day. Hey, before we go, we got one bonus storage unit find for you. If you're a comic book fan, you're definitely going to appreciate this one and want to pay attention. The most expensive comic of all time, that would be Action Comics #1, was once found in an old abandoned storage unit. Apparently, it had been stolen from Nicolas Cage's home in the year 2000. When it was found, Cage was ecstatic.
How did you get comics stolen from you? And who would have the time to steal comics?
Not only because he was a fan of the comic, but because of how much it's worth. After all, he ended up selling it in 2011 for $2.16 million. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Well, that's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoy. Peace out.